The detection signal pulsed urgently across the Galactic Conclave's command center, the large room filled with blue light as screens flashed warnings. Aliens of many shapes and sizes moved quickly between stations. Some had scales, others had fur, but all showed the same worried look. Admiral Doyon of the Valtteri Imperium stood tall among them. His gray skin wrinkled around his eyes as he studied the holographic projection floating in the center of the room. The image showed a massive ship moving through space toward their territory. "Impossible," he whispered. His four-fingered hand passed through the hologram, making the image bigger. The warship that appeared on their scanners was unlike anything they had seen before. It was huge, at least 3 times larger than the biggest conclave battleship. Its hull was darker than the void itself, seeming to swallow the stars behind it. The ship absorbed their sensor scans while giving off power readings that made the veteran officers step back in alarm. Officer Ki-yun approached Admiral Doyon. "Sir, our systems cannot identify the materials used in its construction. The weapons arrays alone could destroy half our fleet." Doyon nodded slowly. He had served in the conclave forces for over 60 cycles, but nothing in his experience prepared him for this. The ship matched old stories his grandfather had told him. Tales most thought were just meant to frighten children. "Send notification to all conclave species," Doyon ordered, his voice firm despite his fear. "This matches the descriptions from the ancient texts. The vessel from the Blue World has returned." The command center burst into activity. Messages went out across the void to 17 star systems, where different alien races lived under the protection of the conclave. Each message carried the same urgent warning: prepare for possible contact with the legendary destroyers from the Blue Planet. Sunho, the communications officer, turned to Doyon. "Sir, we're receiving responses. The Council requests an emergency meeting." Within hours, leaders from across the conclave gathered. Some appeared in person, arriving on fast ships. Others joined through holographic projections, their images flickering slightly around the large round table. Council leader Minji, an elder from the Xoric species with delicate purple skin and 6 eyes, called the meeting to order. "Admiral Doyon, please explain the situation." Doyon stood and gestured to Intelligence Officer Jiho. She was younger than most in the room, but her mind was sharp and her memory perfect. "Thank you, Admiral," Jiho said as she stepped forward. Her long black hair was pulled back tightly, showing her serious face. 3 days ago, our outer sensors detected an unknown vessel entering the Orion Arm. At first, we thought it might be traders from beyond our mapped space. She touched a control panel, and a video appeared above the table. The footage showed 3 pirate ships surrounding a small passenger vessel. These pirates attacked a transport ship carrying families from the Telbari colonies, Jiho explained. Then this happened. The video continued. A dark shape moved into view, the mysterious warship. It dwarfed the pirate vessels. There was no warning, no communication. Beams of light shot from the warship, cutting through the pirate ships like they were made of paper. In less than a minute, all 3 pirate vessels were gone, leaving only floating pieces of metal. The room fell silent. The ship then sent a single message to the passenger vessel. Jiho continued. It said only, "You are safe now." Then it changed course and headed toward our space. Jiho touched the controls again. A new image appeared showing the path of the ship. 2 days later, it encountered another pirate fleet. 12 ships this time. She played another video showing the same result. Quick, efficient destruction of the pirate vessels. "It's heading directly toward conclave space," she reported grimly. "At current speed, it will reach our border in 5 days." The council erupted in worried voices. Some demanded immediate military response. Others suggested hiding. A few even proposed surrender. Doyon raised his hand for silence. "There is more you should know. Our oldest records speak of beings from a blue world, beings who fought with strange tactics and impossible technology. The ancient texts call them humans." Elder Hyunjin, the oldest member of the council, nodded slowly. His transparent skin showed his 3 hearts beating faster. I remember the stories from my childhood. The humans were quarantined long ago after a terrible war. Their system was sealed off. We believed they died out. Clearly, they did not, said Do-Yun. And now they have returned with technology far beyond our own. Counselor Taeyong leaned forward. But why are they here? If they wanted to destroy us, why announce their presence by saving innocent lives? Why destroy only pirates? No one had an answer. What can our weapons do against such a ship? Asked Minister Jiho of the Defense Council. Do-Yun looked down. Nothing. Our best weapons would barely scratch its surface. Fear filled the room. The stories all ended the same way. Worlds burning, civilizations ending. The humans were said to be unpredictable, emotional, and dangerous beyond measure. We must prepare for contact, Do-Yun finally said. We should assemble our diplomatic fleet at the edge of our territory. If they wish to talk, we will be ready. If they wish to fight. He did not finish the thought. As the council debated plans, Officer Jiho received a new message. She whispered to Admiral Do-Yun, whose eyes widened. The ship has increased speed, Do-Yun announced to the silent room. It will reach our border in 2 days, not 5. The ancient terror from Earth was coming, and the conclave had no choice but to face it. The diplomatic fleet assembled at the edge of the Rigel system. 36 vessels floated in the darkness of space, their lights blinking against the black void. Each ship represented a different species of the galactic conclave. Some were small and quick, while others were large and heavy with weapons they hoped not to use. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the conclave flagship called Eternal Harmony. His 6 legs shifted nervously on the polished floor. The 2 mandibles at the sides of his mouth twitched as he stared at the empty space in front of them. Any sign of the vessel? He asked, his voice betraying his worry. Officer Dong-A checked the sensor readings. Nothing yet, Captain. But our calculations show it should arrive soon. Minho's outer shell felt tight. He had commanded the Eternal Harmony for 15 cycles, facing pirates and border conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for this meeting. The stories of the humans from the Blue World had kept him awake during his rest cycles. All ships report ready, said Second Officer Jinwoo. Defensive shields are at minimum power as ordered. We don't want to appear threatening. Minho clicked his mandibles in agreement. And our message, boys. Set and broadcasting our peaceful intentions in all known languages, answered communications specialist Yuna. Her tentacles worked quickly over the control panel, their pink tips glowing slightly as they touched the surfaces. The bridge fell silent. Everyone waited. Suddenly, the space in front of their fleet tore open. A hole appeared in the fabric of reality itself. Light bent around the edges as something massive pushed through from hyperspace. It's here, whispered Yuna. The human warship emerged fully from hyperspace. The sight made Minho's hearts beat faster. It was enormous. At least 5 times larger than the Eternal Harmony. Its dark hull seemed to absorb the light of the nearby sun. Strange patterns covered its surface that might have been writing or decorations or battle scars. No one could tell. The ship dwarfed their entire fleet. By the first eggs, muttered Jinwoo. The reports didn't prepare us for this. Minho forced himself to stand taller. Open visual feed to all conclave vessels. They need to see this. On every ship in the diplomatic fleet, crews stared at images of the human vessel. Some prayed to their gods. Others prepared for quick escape. All wondered if they would live to see another day. Opening communications, announced Yuna, her voice steady despite her fear. Her tentacles danced across the control panel, sending our greeting message on all frequencies. Long moments passed. The human ship hung in space, silent and still. No response, Yuna reported. Minho clicked his mandibles. Try again. Add the piece codes from the ancient archives. Yuna sent the message again. This time, a light flashed on her panel. They're responding with minimum telemetry, she said with surprise. Just enough data to establish a communication link. No video feed. Audio only. Put it through, ordered Minho. A voice filled the bridge. It spoke in perfect conclave standard, but something about it felt strange, too smooth, too perfect. Conclave vessels, this is the Earth ship Providence. State your purpose. Minho stepped forward. This is Captain Minho of the Galactic Conclave flagship Eternal Harmony. We come in peace to welcome you to our territory and establish diplomatic relations. Silence followed. Then the voice returned. Your fleet formation suggests defensive posture. A standard welcome formation, Minho explained quickly. We mean no threat. Another pause, longer this time. The bridge crew looked at each other nervously. Finally, the voice spoke again. We will permit a small delegation to board for face-to-face discussions. No more than 5 representatives. No weapons. 1 shuttle only. The communication ended before Minho could respond. They're allowing us to board, said Jinwoo, his voice filled with disbelief. Minho turned to his crew. Contact Ambassador Taehyun immediately. Tell him to prepare a delegation. 2 hours later, a small shuttle departed from the Eternal Harmony. Inside sat 5 representatives from different conclave species. Ambassador Taehyun, a tall being with 4 arms and metallic blue skin, led the group. His species was known for their calm thinking and diplomatic skills. Remember, Taehyun told the others as their shuttle approached the massive human ship, we know almost nothing about these beings. Be respectful. Observe everything. Say little. The shuttle pilot, Sujin, guided them toward the human vessel. They've opened a docking bay for us, she reported. It's enormous. A huge door had slid open on the side of the warship. Inside was darkness. The shuttle's lights barely penetrated it. Are you sure we should enter? Asked Delegate Jisoo, her leaf-like skin rustling with anxiety. We have no choice, replied Taehyun. This may be our only chance to prevent war. Sujin guided the shuttle forward. As they passed through the opening, they realized just how massive the ship truly was. The docking bay swallowed their shuttle whole. It could have held 50 shuttles their size with room to spare. Lights came on as they entered, revealing rows of strange vehicles and equipment. Some looked like weapons. Others had no purpose they could understand. Find a place to land, Taehyun instructed Sujin. The shuttle touched down gently. Through the windows, they could see no movement, no signs of life. Should we wait for them to greet us? Asked Delegate Minseo. I believe they expect us to disembark, said Taehyun. He stood and adjusted his formal robes. Remember, we represent all species of the conclave. Be brave. The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss. Cool air rushed in, smelling of metal and strange chemicals. The delegation stepped out one by one onto the smooth floor of the docking bay. No one came to meet them. Hello, called Taehyun. His voice echoed in the vast space. A light appeared on the far wall, creating a path. Please follow, said a voice from nowhere. The delegation walked slowly along the lit path. They passed strange machines and containers. Everything was organized with perfect precision. The path led them to a doorway that opened automatically. Beyond was a wide corridor with high ceilings. The walls were made of a material none of them recognized. This way, the voice directed. They walked for several minutes, turning corners and passing through more doorways. The ship seemed endless. Finally, they entered a large room with a table in the center. And there, prominently displayed on the bulkhead behind the table, was something that made the delegation freeze in collective shock. A flag. Its field was deep blue, like the oceans they had seen in old records of Earth. And scattered across the blue were white stars arranged in a pattern. The flag was simple, yet somehow conveyed power and purpose. It was a symbol none recognized, but all immediately feared. Ambassador Taehyun felt a chill run through his 4 arms. The ancient texts had mentioned this symbol. It had flown over battlefields where millions died. It had been the last thing many species saw before their planets burned. Welcome, said a voice, and the delegation turned to see a door opening on the far side of the room. The time had come to meet the humans face to face. The conclave representatives returned from the human ship with urgent news. Within hours, emergency meetings began across all conclave space. Leaders from 22 species gathered in the Grand Hall on the central planet. Some came in person, while others appeared as holograms, their forms flickering slightly in the air. Historian Hannah stood before them all. Her skin was pale green, and her large eyes blinked rarely as she spoke. She was the foremost expert on ancient histories, having studied records that most have forgotten. Humans were quarantined 5 centuries ago, Hannah explained, her voice clear and strong despite the tension in the room. Their solar system was sealed after the plague wars. They were presumed extinct. The gathered leaders murmured among themselves. Most had never heard of humans except in old stories meant to frighten children. The quarantine was put in place by our ancestors, Hannah continued. A disease spread through human colonies. It killed millions. The remaining governments of the galaxy decided Earth must be isolated to protect everyone else. Admiral Doyun stepped forward. What do we know about their technology? Their weapons? Very little, admitted Hannah. The records from that time are incomplete. We know they fought fiercely. We know they refused to surrender even when defeat seemed certain. Ambassador Taehyun raised one of his 4 hands. I have met them face to face. They look much like the Telbari, but with only 2 arms and 2 legs. Their skin comes in different colors. They stand upright. Their eyes face forward like predators. The hall filled with worried whispers. Predator species were rare in the conclave. Most evolved from prey animals or plant eaters. What do they want? Asked Council Leader Minji. They have requested a meeting, said Admiral Doyun. Here, in this hall. They wish to speak to all conclave species at once. Some leaders objected immediately. Others demanded weapons be ready. A few suggested running away to the outer systems. The human captain has agreed to come alone, unarmed, said Ambassador Taehyun. I believe we should hear what they have to say. After much debate, the leaders agreed. Guards were posted. Escape ships prepared. Then the doors to the Grand Hall opened. A single figure walked in. The human was shorter than many in the room, but walked with confidence. The captain wore a simple uniform of dark blue with silver markings on the shoulders. The human's skin was light brown, with short black hair on top of the head. I am Captain Jiho of the Earth ship Providence, the human said, voice calm and clear. Thank you for meeting with me. The human's eyes moved around the room, taking in the different species. Some leaders shifted uncomfortably under that direct gaze. Why have you come to our space? Asked Admiral Doyun directly. Your kind was quarantined centuries ago. Captain Jiho smiled slightly as the aliens processed this information. It was a small movement of the lips that the conclave members found hard to interpret. We adapted. We survived. We remembered, Jiho said simply. The human walked to the center of the room, hands visible and empty. After you sealed our system, we faced extinction. The plague killed billions. Our world burned, but some of us lived. We rebuilt. We developed new medicines and technologies. We healed our planet. And then we looked to the stars again. Cultural liaison Somi stepped forward. She was small compared to most species, with purple fur and large ears. Her job was to understand other cultures and help communicate complex ideas. Your ship, Sony began carefully. It has weapons beyond anything we have seen. Are you here to take revenge for the quarantine? The human's face showed an expression that Somi couldn't read. No, said Captain Jiho. We do not seek revenge. We seek connection, understanding. Somi struggled as she tried to translate human concepts that had no equivalent in conclave languages. The words honor, sacrifice, and resilience had no direct translation. The closest conclave words carried different meanings or missed important aspects. Humans value standing firm when things are difficult, Somi explained to the leaders. They believe in protecting others even at personal cost. they respect, continuing forward despite pain. The leaders looked confused. These concepts were not common in conclave thinking, where group survival and practical decisions were valued most. This vessel, Captain Jiho explained, gesturing to mean the ship in orbit above them, was built as a hospital ship. The translator devices worn by the conclave members all beeped at once. The translation must have been wrong. Many tapped their devices, thinking they had malfunctioned. "Your weapons systems," began Admiral Doyen, his mandibles clicking in confusion, "were designed to protect the vulnerable," Joe finished. "We converted military technology after the wars." The hall fell silent. No one spoke for several moments as they tried to understand. "Your ship destroyed 12 pirate vessels in less than 2 minutes, said Admiral Doyen finally. "That is not defensive capability. That is overwhelming force." Captain Jiho nodded. "Yes. We believe the best way to save lives is to end threats quickly and completely." The human walked in a small circle, looking at each section of leaders. "After the plague, we had few resources. We needed to protect what remained. Our military ships were the strongest structures we had, so we converted them. The Providence carries enough medical supplies to treat 10 billion patients. It has 3,000 medical staff. It can build emergency hospitals on any planet's surface in hours." "And the weapons?" asked Counselor Taeyong. "The best medicine is prevention," said Jiho. "Pirates, slavers, and others who prey on the weak still exist in this galaxy. We protect those who cannot protect themselves." Historian Hannah stepped forward, her eyes wide with realization. "The reports from the outer systems, the mysterious ship that appeared when colonies were under attack. That was you." Captain Jiho nodded. "For the past 50 years, we have been exploring beyond your borders. We found many worlds in need. We helped where we could. Why not contact us directly?" asked Council Leader Minji. "We remembered the quarantine. We were not sure how you would react to our return." The human's eyes showed sadness. "We lost much in isolation. Knowledge, history, friends among the stars." Ambassador Taehyun moved closer to the human. "What do you want from the conclave now?" Captain Jiho stood straight, shoulders back. "We wish to end our isolation, to rejoin the galactic community, to share what we have learned, and to learn from you. The Providence is the first of our ships to enter your space officially, but we have 17 more like it, helping throughout the galaxy." The leaders looked at each other. Everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. The feared warships were hospitals. The dreaded weapons were shields for the weak. "We have much to discuss," said Council Leader Minji finally. Captain Jiho smiled again, and this time, some in the room thought they understood the expression better. It seemed to show hope. The treaty talks had been going for 3 days. Humans and conclave leaders sat together in the large meeting room aboard the Providence. Maps of space routes filled the air above the table. Everyone spoke of trade, of sharing medicine, of meeting new human colonies. Captain Jiho sat at one end of the table, speaking with Council Leader Minji about Earth plants that might grow on conclave worlds. Ambassador Taehyun and Admiral Doyen sat nearby, listening closely. The loud alarm made everyone jump. Red lights flashed across the room. "Captain," a human officer rushed in. Her face looked worried. "Emergency transmission from the Rigel colony." The air above the table changed. Now it showed a frightened alien with blue skin and 3 eyes. "This is Governor Junho of Rigel 3. We are under attack. Multiple ships have entered the system. They're destroying everything." There, the screen went black. "What happened?" asked Council Leader Minji, standing up quickly. Tactical Officer Woojin rushed into the room. His scales had turned a pale yellow color, showing his fear. "The Hive Collective is attacking Rigel's system. 6 of their destroyer ships and at least 20 smaller vessels." Everyone in the room grew silent. The Hive Collective was the oldest enemy of all biological life in the galaxy. They were machines that thought living things were messy and should be removed. They had attacked conclave worlds many times over hundreds of years. "How many people on Rigel 3? Asked Captain Jiho, already moving toward the door. "Nearly 4 million, said Admiral Doyen. "Mostly civilians. We have 2 defense ships there, but they won't last long." Captain Jiho turned to the conclave leaders. "The Providence can reach Rigel in 20 minutes at full speed. We can help." Admiral Doyen shook his head. "The conclave fleet won't survive direct engagement with 6 Hive destroyers, even your ship." "We faced worse," Captain Jiho said firmly. "You can send what ships you have to help evacuate civilians. We'll provide cover." Without waiting for an answer, the human captain pressed a small button on their uniform. "All hands to battle stations. Set course for Rigel system, maximum speed. Medical teams prepare for casualties." Throughout the huge ship, humans ran to their positions. Lights changed from white to red. Doors that had been opened closed and locked. Council leader Minji stared at Captain Jiho. "You would risk your ship and crew for our colony?" "Yes," said Jiho simply. "That's what we do." The Providence moved faster than any conclave ship could travel. The stars outside became streaks of light. On the bridge, Captain Jiho stood calmly giving orders while the conclave representatives watched in wonder. "Tactical display," ordered Jiho. A 3-dimensional map appeared, showing the Rigel system. Red dots showed Hive ships. Blue dots showed the 2 conclave defense vessels. They were trying to protect 3 green dots, transport ships full of civilians trying to escape. "The transport ships won't make it," said Tactical Officer Woojin. "The Hive will cut them off here." He pointed to a spot on the map. "Then we'll be there first," said Captain Jiho. "Weapons ready. Shields at maximum." The Providence came out of faster-than-light travel directly between the Hive ships and the fleeing transports. The human ship was huge compared to the conclave vessels, but smaller than the 6 Hive destroyers. "Attention conclave ships, this is Captain Jiho of the Providence. Move your civilian transports behind us. We will cover your retreat." The Hive ships immediately opened fire. Bright beams hit the Providence from all sides. The ship shook, but its shields held. "Return fire," ordered Captain Jiho. "Target their main weapons first." The human ship fired back. Beams of light brighter than any the conclave had seen before shot out and hit 2 Hive destroyers. One lost its main gun. The other spun away, damaged badly. The Hive ships changed tactics. They spread out, trying to go around the Providence to reach the civilian ships. "They're adapting," warned Woojin. "This is what they do. They learn from each attack." Captain Jiho nodded. "So do we. New targeting pattern. Fire missiles 3 through 7. Small objects shot out from the Providence, moving too fast to see. They hit 3 more Hive ships, causing explosions across their hulls. The conclave defense ships tried to help, firing at the smaller Hive vessels. But the machines were quick and dangerous. One conclave ship exploded after taking too many hits. "Minji's light is gone," said Admiral Doyen sadly. 50 crew members. Captain Jiho's face showed determination. "Move us between the Hive and the remaining defense ship. New shield configuration." The Providence changed position. Its shields now extended outward, covering not just itself, but also the conclave ship nearby. The Hive attacked again, this time with a new weapon. Balls of energy that passed through normal shields hit the Providence repeatedly. "They've adapted to our shield frequency," reported a human officer. "Then we adapt too," said Captain Jiho. "Switch to pattern Echo. Fire all forward weapons." The Providence's response surprised everyone. Its weapons changed color and type. What had been beams became pulses. What had been missiles became clouds of tiny machines that ate through Hive ship armor. "How are they doing that?" whispered Ambassador Taeyeon. "Their weapons are changing as they fight. It's not in any tactical database we have," said Woojin, watching closely. "The Hive adapts, then the humans adapt faster. It's remarkable." But the Hive was strong. A lucky shot hit a second conclave ship, cutting it in half. Then a third conclave vessel lost engine power and drifted into Hive weapons range. It didn't survive. Captain Jiho saw what was happening and made a quick decision. We need to coordinate better. Send defensive protocols to all remaining conclave ships. The human communications officer worked quickly. Sending data now, Captain. On the conclave vessels, officers watched in surprise as new information appeared on their screens. The humans were sharing their defensive tactics, information that most species would keep secret. These protocols will help your ships link with our defense systems, Captain Jiho explained to Admiral Doyon. Your shields will work with ours. Your weapons will coordinate with our targeting systems. When the next Hive attack came, something amazing happened. The remaining conclave ships moved in perfect formation with the Providence. Their shields strengthened each other. Their weapons hit targets at the exact same moment, causing much more damage. It's working, shouted Wujin. The Hive ships are pulling back. 2 Hive destroyers had been completely destroyed. The others were damaged. The smaller Hive ships began to retreat. Intelligence Officer Jiho stood near the back of the bridge, watching the humans work. Their faces showed focus and determination unlike anything she had seen before. They fight like they've nothing to lose, whispered Jiho in awe. No fear, just purpose. The last civilian transport escaped the battle zone, carrying thousands of conclave citizens to safety. The Providence continued to fire at the retreating Hive ships, making sure they couldn't follow. Captain Jiho turned to the conclave leaders. Your people are safe now. We should go after the remaining Hive ships before they can repair and return. Admiral Doyon looked at the human captain with new understanding. You just saved thousands of lives. You lost none of your own ships while we lost 3. And now you want to continue the fight. Captain Jiho nodded simply. The Hive will return unless we show them the cost is too high. That's how we protect the innocent. The conclave leaders looked at each other. Everything they thought they knew about humans was changing by the minute. 1 week after the battle at Riel, peace had returned. The Hive vessels retreated after suffering unprecedented casualties. No Hive ship had come back to conclave space since then. The people of Riel 3 slowly returned to their homes, protected now by both conclave and human ships. On the central conclave world, repairs continued day and night. Buildings damaged in the attack were being fixed. Injured people received treatment from both conclave doctors and human medical teams. The Providence had sent down supplies and helpers within hours of the battle's end. Inside the great meeting hall of the conclave headquarters, representatives from all 22 species gathered. The room buzzed with excited talk. Many wore their finest clothes or displayed their most colorful scales, shells, or fur. This meeting would be remembered in history records for centuries to come. Admiral Doyon stood near the front of the room, his mandibles clean and polished. The memory of the battle still played in his mind. He had watched the Providence take hits that would have destroyed any conclave ship. He had seen human officers work calmly even as their ship shook around them. Most of all, he remembered how they had shared their technology without hesitation to save conclave lives. The Council will now welcome Captain Jiho of Earth, announced Council Leader Minji. The doors opened. Captain Jiho walked in, wearing a clean uniform with new medals on the chest. 6 more humans followed, each carrying a large container. Thank you for inviting us, said Captain Jiho with a small bow. We bring gifts from Earth and our colonies. The humans opened their containers. Inside were plants, books, art pieces, and data crystals filled with human knowledge. The conclave representatives moved closer, curious about these offerings from a people they had feared just days before. We also bring something more important, said Captain Jiho. We bring friendship and an offer to join together against common threats. Historian Hannah stepped forward. For centuries, we believed humans were gone. We thought the quarantine had ended your species. How did you survive? Captain Jiho smiled. When you sealed our system, we had little left. The plague had killed billions. Our world was broken. But humans are stubborn. We rebuilt. We found a cure for the plague. We cleaned our planet, and we remembered the stars. And then you built warships, said Admiral Doyon. We built ships that could protect us, corrected Captain Jiho. The universe is not always kind. We learned that lesson well. The captain motioned to one of the other humans, who brought forward a cloth. When unfolded, it showed the blue flag with white stars that hung in the Providence. Each star on our flag, explained Captain Jiho, represents a world we saved from extinction after our quarantine. This first star is Earth, our home. This one is Mars, our first colony. This one is New Hope, a world we found abandoned but livable. The captain pointed to each star in turn. This one represents Talax, a world whose people were dying from a disease much like our plague. We helped them find a cure. This one is Bentar, where we stopped an asteroid from hitting their main continent. The room was silent as Captain Jiho continued, pointing to each star and telling its story. Stories of rescue, of protection, of help freely given to worlds in need. We built weapons because the universe taught us their necessity, but we never forgot why we fight. Captain Jiho said when finished. We fight to protect, to save, to help others live in peace. Cultural Lays and Somi moved closer to examine the flag. In our oldest stories, humans were feared warriors who destroyed all in their path. How did that story become so wrong? Captain Jiho thought for a moment. Perhaps it wasn't wrong. Our history shows we fought terrible wars against each other before we united. Maybe those stories come from that time. We have changed since then. Council leader Minji stepped forward. The conclave has voted. We wish to offer Earth and all human colonies membership in the Galactic Conclave, equal status with all other member species. Surprised murmurs filled the room. No new species had been offered full membership without years of waiting. We are honored, said Captain Jiho, and we accept. The formal treaty took hours to complete. It covered trade routes, technology sharing, defense agreements, and cultural exchange. When finished, both humans and conclave leaders signed their names or pressed their marks to the document. Admiral Doyon approached Captain Jiho after the ceremony. He had commanded ships for many years and had seen many battles, but nothing like what the humans had done at Riel. Your ship, he said, his voice filled with new respect, the deadliest warship in known space, is only deadly to those who threaten the innocent. Finished Jiho. That is the human way. Doyon's mandibles clicked together in what humans now knew was a sign of agreement. The conclave has decided to create an honor guard for the Providence when you leave tomorrow. 10 of our best ships will escort you to the border of our space. We would be honored, said Captain Jiho. The next day, crowds gathered to watch the Providence depart. The massive ship rose slowly from its docking place near the conclave capital city. Children of many species pointed up at the sky, their parents telling them this was a historic moment. 10 sleek conclave vessels moved into position around the Providence. Their hulls had been freshly painted with both the conclave symbol and a small version of the human flag, a new tradition to show their alliance. From the command center below, Admiral Doyon and Council Leader Minji watched the ships form up. Do you think they will keep their promises? Asked Minji. History has seen many alliances form and break. Doyon remembered the battle, how the humans had placed their ship between the Hive and conclave civilians without hesitation. Yes, he said firmly. I believe they will. The Providence and its escort accelerated away, soon becoming just points of light in the sky. The human flag that flew on the great ship, once a symbol that caused terror in the hearts of the conclave, now represented something unexpected in the cold darkness of space: hope. For the first time in centuries, the peoples of the conclave looked to the future without fear. With humans as allies, the galaxy seemed a little less dark, a little less dangerous. Old enemies like the Hive would think twice before attacking again. And on worlds across conclave space, children began to play new games. Games where they pretended to be brave humans in great ships, coming to save others from danger. The end.